My fiancé has always preferred his sister to me, and he even let her to organize our whole wedding. But he hit me when I told him she was his primary chick. Roy, 31M, and I, 30F, struck it off immediately away when we met in college and are getting married. He is pleasant, intelligent, attractive, and helpful. After falling in love, we collaborated to plan our whole future. We made plans for our retirement, vacations, kids' college fun, house number, and other details. I adore him a great deal. He is both my best friend and my soul mate. Every time I accomplished something, he would tell me how proud he is of me. He is really encouraging of my goals and aspirations. He would encourage me to pursue endeavors that I was afraid of. He would reaffirm me that I have sufficient ability and aptitude. Every time I got ready to go out, he would tell me how glad he was to have me as his girlfriend and offer me compliments. Roy's older sister Kim, 33F, was 10 years old when her father went away, and Roy was only 8 years old. Yami, 55F, his mother, never got married again. She's a really kind and caring woman. Kim seldom visited us and lived in a separate location for business, so I never got to meet her. We had an engagement ceremony 8 months ago in my nation. The prospective bride and groom exchanged vows in front of close relatives and friends. Kim returned to our hometown and secured employment here. Things started. I had to become tricky at this point. Here, the parents of the females usually foot the bill for the wedding. My dad engaged a wedding planner and instructed me to work with them to arrange Roy and myself a happy wedding. Kim would accompany us wherever we went, but my future mill remained out of the planning when we first started. To the caterers, the wedding planner's office, the florist, and everyone else, Roy and I were supposed to be alone. I informed him that I didn't like to be the one to do things that the two of us must have been doing jointly in the future. He informed me that Kim only desired to participate in her brother's wedding, and that I need to be more hospitable to her. Actually, I wouldn't have minded if she hadn't spoken and hadn't offered her insightful opinion. I should pick a new color scheme since the flowers I chose would be too pastel. The planner would say things like that won't give. The guests on the far left a proper view when I would suggest a chair configuration. At my wedding, I wanted to serve coconut pudding. Growing up, this was my all-time favorite dessert, so when I got married, I wanted to serve it to my guests. But guess what? No way. Not made of coconut. I have an allergy. Roy's constant support of her when it comes to my decisions over hers is what irritates me the most. He wouldn't engage in any combat. He would say something like, "It doesn't matter which flower it is as long as you are my bride, babe. That's not that big of an issue. Let it go." The fact that we were getting married and beginning a new life together when the coconut pudding incident occurred is all that matters. He reminded me not to be self-centered because our families and ourselves are involved, not just me. Kim is family, and I can't keep her from eating at our wedding, he stated. At this time, I was really becoming annoyed. We seemed to be organizing Kim's wedding rather than our own. The last straw came when we went wedding dress shopping. Wedding dress is a fitting term because it refers to our customary attire. I was in love with this gorgeous green dress that my mom had chosen for me. However, Kim had to stick her nose in here too. She advised me to try something different because green isn't my color. Roy concurred with her. After trying on a few different gowns, I ultimately chose a rose gold one that I loved, albeit not as much as the green one. Next, we went shopping for the bride and groom's family. I'm not kidding when I say that this BTH chose the identical green dress and decided she was going to buy it when it was Kim's time. I cracked up. I left since I didn't want to cause a scene there. At home, Roy and I got into a heated argument over this. He informed me that green didn't match well with my skin tone, and that Kim looked better in it, that I should stop behaving so childish, and that Kim chose the outfit before I did. My ears were unbelievable to me. He's always taken Kim's side, never mine, and I recognized it for the first time since we started arranging our wedding. The fact that the man I was seeing was the same man I fell in love with astounded me. Because Roy and Kim lost their father at an early age, they had a close relationship. Growing up, they were each other's greatest friends and pillars of support. But when it comes to our wedding and our vision, that doesn't excuse him from siding with her. He used to boast about his sister to anybody he could, even if they were admiring me. Back when we were dating in college, he would say something like, "If you think this is delicious, then you must try the coffee," in response to someone complimenting the taste of the coffee I made. My sister produces it at her. It wasn't a huge problem, but it was aggravating. I knew he was really close to her, so I let it go. But this time I can't let go. This is our wedding, not Kim's. I angrily told him that if this wedding is going to happen, it's either going to be exactly how we both imagined it or it's not going to happen at all. Roy became enraged with me, accusing me of being envious of his sister since I will never be able to measure up to her. That despite Kim's kindness, I am a resentful person for harboring a grudge against her. That she only wanted to assist, etc. I have no ill will against her. All I want is my ideal wedding. AITA? Edit, I'm at my friend's house right now. I posted this, and then sobbed myself to sleep. She informed me when I woke up a few minutes ago that about 1,000 individuals concur with her. I was afraid of the obvious, therefore I didn't want to read the comments. Sincerely, I simply assumed that everyone would be asking me to call off the wedding since he isn't the proper fit for me. Thankfully, none of you said that, and I appreciate that. However, I never considered the points raised by everyone, such as the emotional incest and her potential to influence our future, including my future children. Not even once. Why I was unable to perceive such things is beyond me. I was such an idiot. I nearly lost my appetite after reading the remarks and thinking back on our relationship. He would argue that their relationship is greater than that of other siblings since they had to go through difficult times together after losing their father, therefore I could have disregarded them. I can't even stand straight. Because I'm so devastated. I can't take much more of this misery. I didn't pick up when his mother phoned on my phone. It's quite much. I feel constricted and find it hard to breathe. I think I may be anxious, my pal said. First, we're going to the doctor. I don't think I'm ready to speak with anyone. Please note that this post will be lengthy. There will be no wedding. My dearest pals, my sister, and my parents are with me at home. We talked for a time to connect our experiences and make sure I understood the order of events. I neglected to include my 34-year-old sister Maya, who works overseas and visited a week ago, to assist me with the impending wedding at the time, as well as to spend time with me. Maya was jet-tired and stayed home on the day she was supposed to shop for wedding attire. There were also my mother, 2 of my aunts, 4 cousins, 3 uncles, Roy, Kim, Yami the former future mill, 2 of Roy's aunts, and 2 uncles. So, there were maybe 18 of us looking at wedding gowns. Roy followed me back to his house where we got into a fight when I became irritated and fled. However, my mother was eventually unable to contain herself at the store. She screamed at Kim and referred to her harshly. Kim called me a slew of naughty names in return. Team bride and team groom started yelling at one another, and Yami tried to defuse the tension. They were all let out of the store when the police were called. I had that argument with Roy and went to stay at my friend's house after all of this, and Kim vanished. Kim was not in the homes or offices of her friends or family, nor was she picking up her phone. Fearing about her safety, Roy and Yami looked everywhere for her, and the next morning they discovered her at the home of distant cousins. I didn't answer Yami's phone when she asked if I knew where Kim could have gone. I experienced a full-blown panic attack in the hospital when I was in the doctor's office. I started to hyperventilate, my heart rate spiked, and I felt terrified. I was fainting, coming to for a little moment of lucidity, and then fainting again. All I can recall is that a needle pierced my butt. My companion said that I was awake and behaving inebriated for the whole day, that I was unconscious, but I can't recall anything that happened. I woke up at my parents' house, lying in bed. I was not questioned or talked to about what had transpired. When my mother noticed that I had woken up, she asked if I would like some coffee, and you can imagine that her coffee always beats Kim's coffee. Postponing thoughts of the wedding and the aftermath until later felt fantastic. I was sleeping that night when I felt Maya's hug. I can still feel the tears streaming down my cheeks and my heart feeling warm. She insisted that everything would work out, to trust in God, and that it was all right to weep and let everything out. Roy called the following morning, and when I answered, he asked me where I was. I told him I was at home. He said he would want to get together with me at his house so we can talk things out. Okay, I'll be there, I said. Only until I permanently close this chapter of my life will I be able to go on. My mother and Maya visited Roy's house. There was Yami, Kim, Roy, and his uncle, Yami's brother. I know it's ridiculous, but I thought Roy would accept responsibility for his actions and be clean with me. Was I mistaken? Roy began berating me for creating a commotion at the wedding dress store as soon as we were all seated, and he continued by telling me about Kim's disappearance. How distraught she was at my mom's comments that suggested she may hurt herself, how his mom and he had to spend the entire night driving around the city looking for Kim, and how callous I had been to ignore Yami's call. I asked him, coolly, where I had been that evening. Like Kim, I hadn't picked up my phone. Our argument had disturbed me as well. Did he ever consider how I would be doing? He remained silent for a short while before attempting to speak but stammered over his words. It was nonsensical at all. I informed him that I now understood who meant more to him, and it was very definitely not me. Kids these days quarrel over the tiniest things. His uncle interrupted me to remark to my dad. You may definitely explain to your daughter that marriage isn't always what it looks, and that it involves making sacrifices. My father informed him that let my daughter talk to her fiancé, since it's her life, and only she can determine how serious a problem is. I turned to face Roy again and said, I know that your sister is the main chick and I am the side chick. Any person worth her salt won't put up with being her own husband's side chick. You are welcome to wed your sister in the ideal wedding she has planned, I added. I watched Roy's face flush at this point. And before I knew what was happening, he had smacked me across the face so hard that my inner cheek and my nose began to bleed. My father struck him across the face, put him in a chokehold and kept pounding him in the stomach. My dad and Roy were being kept apart by Yami, my mom, and his uncle. Maya was giving me a strong embrace and cleaning my bleeding nose when Kim let out a banshee-like cry, accusing me of something. I can't quite remember what she said. Not even Maya can fully recall it. She marched up to me with her fist in the air, threatening to punch me, and said something along the lines of, "I wish you had never come into our lives and made it a living hell." Before Kim could strike me, Maya grabbed her hand and gave her a backhand bitch slap. Kim cried out like she was being skinned alive as she collapsed to the ground. At this point, the neighbors entered and divided the group. A few minutes later, the ambulance and police arrived. Roy's face was blue, and he had bleeding from his mouth. He was taken away by ambulance. They loaded me into another ambulance. After receiving treatment, Roy wasn't in the police station where my family and his were seated. Instead, I was transported there. Yami came up to me, apologized, and wished me success in the future. After hearing my story, the police asked whether I wanted to file charges against Roy. I said that I did. They told me that one of his ribs was shattered and that he had lost a tooth. Thus, there's a possibility that he will file charges against my dad. We were all permitted to go for home by midnight. My buddies came over this morning and we had breakfast as a group. We spoke a lot and came to the conclusion that for my mental health, I need to start taking both medicine and therapy. Lunch was pizza, and my dad was cracking dumb jokes all the time. Afterwards, the account owner, Mom Maya, and my two best friends began to read the comments on my post. My mother was overjoyed to see the responses to my statement about wanting to cry and contact my mother. I should never be afraid to be vulnerable with them, she assured me. I don't have to pretend to be strong for them while I'm in pain on the inside. Her desire was that I had gotten in touch with her earlier. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to leave a remark or express care for a total stranger. I wouldn't have seen the problems that I do today so clearly if it weren't for folks like you. I may have even given in to my forgiveness and gotten into a bad marriage. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you all. You have all helped me to believe in mankind again. And to those who said that I should develop a backbone, I certainly do. But I want to express my viewpoint with my nation. From an early age, girls are taught that good girls are those who maintain family unity, while evil girls are those who shatter families. I have a master's degree and my parents never taught me that, but for some reason this idea stuck in my head from a very young age. That's the reason I wouldn't confront Kim. Since the bad girls incite strife between them, I didn't want to be the source of it. Therapy hopefully helps to fix it. I'm still in mourning for the loss of the lovely future I had imagined, in addition to the past and the relationship. I'm in mourning for the life I once had with my beloved. A real life, somebody who never existed. I feel lighter, even though I know it will take time for me to recover. My parents are ecstatic, but they keep their joy from me since they know I'm still in pain. It appears as though they have aged backward. Roy's no longer receiving hospital care. I wish for a happily ever after for him and his sister. Next story, I declined to have a final conversation with my unfaithful ex-wife who is terminally ill. Her family is now berating me, but my children are in favor of my choice. As for me, I'm 45 years old, and Lucifer was my former partner. We'll keep our identities private. 43F, we dated for 7 years before getting married for 5. From this, we had 3 children: Dean, 21M, Kylie, 19F, and Jax, 17M, with names again, made up for privacy. Context: a few months before to my divorce filing, I saw Lucifer was growing more and more controlling and paranoid, like she had to know where I was going if I walked out. For instance, I went to my grandmother's apartment to assist her and my uncle in moving some new, bulky furniture into the apartment. She insisted on knowing where I was going, even though I had already informed her previously. I looked into the possible reasons for these kinds of things and discovered that they might be indicators of cheating. It seems that I was correct. In essence, she was seen kissing and flirting with another man inside a restaurant, where he was dining with his mother and brothers, according to a friend of mine. I received pictures from him. I submitted my divorce paperwork, etc. You understand. I only really campaigned for 80/20 custody, and to keep my money I didn't really care what I received out of the divorce. She surprisingly didn't dispute anything other than custody. Though hey, I got 7030 instead of 8020. Since I still had majority custody, I got back up. Anyhow, this year, my former partner has cancer that is terminal. It didn't really bother me when Dean informed me about Kylie and Jax. I consoled my children, but I didn't feel sorry for myself. To be honest, I feel guilty about this since I was a little thrilled to get complete custody of Jax. Kylie became 18 and decided she wanted to live with me alone. Dean has already moved away. Thus I received a call from Dean a few days later. Lucifer was sick, he informed me, and she had begged Dean to speak with her. Essentially, her final request was to speak with me one last time. I'll be honest, I informed Dean up front that I would not speak with her. When I discovered that this woman had cheated on me, I lost all interest in her. Dean acknowledged this, but warned me that I may anticipate a call from his mother's side since, throughout her final few months, they had essentially treated her as if she were the center of the universe. My ex-in-laws managed to get my phone information and have been texting and phoning me non-stop, accusing me of being nasty and callous for not fulfilling my ex's last desire. On my side are my children and the cousins of my ex-spouse, with whom she was never friendly. But she has the support of Lucifer's whole family, as well as a few mutual acquaintances. Reddit, thanks for your attention. Hello, first update. I shared a little anecdote on my blog yesterday about turning down my ex-wife's final request. In any case, the fact that this is only a little update is the reason I claim it to be an update technically. Small, that is. Mostly it's just a group response to a few broad remarks. First of all, I want to thank everyone for their opinions, love, hatred, and giggles about Lucifer's chosen name. Stop telling everyone that she's receiving her karma from cancer. Although I may not be fond of her, I would never wish cancer, much less deadly cancer, on anyone. Not even the woman who spent several miserable months in my life. Saying anything like that is kind of weird. I also want to discuss my bitterness at my ex. I do not despise her, to be sure. Why? I believe it would be a waste of energy for me to have to expend energy thinking about her. In any case, I don't often have to. Even rarer given that 2 of my children no longer live with her on a part-time basis. Take a trip to the tiny handful that are insulting me. Be courteous when expressing your opinions if you are going to do so. Here's the little update now. A lot of you advised me to send Lucifer a video or write her a letter instead of speaking with her face-to-face. I've solicited my children's thoughts after speaking with them all at once. I also informed them that the earlier suggestion mentioned above was the only way I could fulfill her request. All of my children have come to the conclusion that, even though they want me to talk to her, they will completely understand if I don't. For the nth time during that meeting, I informed them that I was really contemplating writing a letter or creating a video. However, I need more time to choose whether or not I want to do it. I once more went to strangers on the internet. I would be very grateful for advice. Edit, I intended to say video call instead of video. I apologize for it. Hello, second update. A long time has passed. I once submitted a post about Lucifer, my ex-wife, and a little update that I didn't really think was appropriate in response. I'm doing this to provide you all an update and address certain inquiries. I'll address the 2 primary queries first. First, did I speak with her? In the end, I decided against it. For the sake of my children, I first determined a few months ago that I would in person, but as soon as I got to the hospital, I started to hyperventilate and almost passed out. I made the decision to keep my promise after this. I didn't believe it was worth putting my life at danger to talk to someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Was there a video I made for her? Is the second query, which is essentially the same thing. Give her a call or send her a letter? I gave this some thought as well. But after I made the decision that I may, something occurred that prevented it. First, allow me to catch you up. Some of Lucifer's relatives who had been harassing me started assaulting me in public on social media shortly after I posted. And there were more individuals who attacked me. I didn't know the majority of these individuals. When my 3 children sat down with their mother's family and made it clear they would break off communication if this type of behavior persisted, the posts were removed. It seems to end after this. My kids did this for me, and I am very appreciative and fortunate for them. Although it wasn't necessary, they did. We learned shortly afterward that Lucifer could indeed emerge alive. In other words, the physicians were working on a therapy because the cause of her death had essentially turned benign. This did not last long. Lucifer passed away as she slept only this week. My kids are quite disturbed, as is their family. I have tried my best to assist and console my children during this entire ordeal. My kids have made the decision to start organizing her funeral. At my oldest son Dean's request, I have chosen to go, and at Lucifer's request, at the request of a friend of ours whom I'll refer to as John, 42M. He helped me through the entire divorce process even though he was still friends with Lucifer. I feel like I should be paying him back. John promised to sit with me and watch out for me so that I'm not bothered by Lucifer's family. Jax, my middle child, and Kylie, my youngest, have decided to talk to their relatives and divert their attention in a similar manner.